Behold the voice of God.
For those of you who don't know me officially, my name is Amanda Waller.
And I'm Aaron Moss, your host of Task Force X.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Well, yeah, that and
Checkmate.
Task Force X is a podcast that tells the stories of John Ossinger's Suicide Squad and Paul Kupperberg's Checkmate from the late 80s, early 90s.
I want to build a team of some bad people who can do some good.
And that's what Suicide Squad is. While Checkmate is a team of good people doing some good. My mission here is to chronicle each and every title in all the books that Suicide Squad and Checkmate appeared in during that era.
We're the U.S. government. You're going to start a blog and expose us?
Well, a blog and a headcast, Amanda.
Those scumbags are trying to screw me.
Not at all, Amanda. Just trying to help everyone else discover the joy of the Suicide Squad and Checkmate. Anywho, hope you guys have as much fun with these comics as I did when I first read them. Oh, so many years ago.
Mother...
That's enough of that, Amanda. Let's go and start the show.
I didn't believe the stories.
Nobody does. Remember, I'm watching. I see everything.
Welcome to Task Force X. This is episode number 39. As usual, I am your host, Aaron Moss. Today, we're going to continue our look at the Janus Directive. We're going to look at two books. First up on the platform is Checkmate number 16, followed by Suicide Squad number 28. Let's go and get started with today's show. The Janus Directive, an 11-part adventure from DC Comics, starring Checkmate, Suicide Squad, Captain Atom, Project Peacemaker, The Manhunter, Firestorm, plus several others. As I mentioned, the first comic we're going to look at on this episode of the Janus Directive is Checkmate number 16. This is the third part of the Janus Directive. The cover date was May of 1989, but the on-sale date was March the 28th of 1989. The cover price was $1.50. Editor was Jonathan Peterson. The title of this issue is called Shadow Knights. This was written, as usual, by Paul Kupperberg, penciled by Rick Hoberg. Inker was Alvey, letterer Gasper Saldino, colorist Juliana Fritter, and the cover was done by the magnificent Gil Kane. This was reprinted in the Suicide Squad, the Janus Directive trade paperback, which came out in 2016, which, as I mentioned previously, I believe, I've recently purchased through InStock Trades. It's a great website if you want to get discount trades. Check them out, instocktrades.com. They're not a sponsor of my show, but they are a sponsor of the Fire and Water podcast network. And you get some cheap comics from there, so check them out. The synopsis for this issue, and again, the credits that I just read and the synopsis all comes from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. It's a great site. The synopsis: after abducted Heinrich Magella, the heads of Checkmate dispatched Knight Gary Washington, Black Thorn, and Valentina Vostok to the Belle Rev to capture Amanda Waller. The trio breaks into the prison and fight with Bronze Tiger and Captain Boomerang. Waller uses the skirmish as cover to escape. Meanwhile, Wade Eiling, who has survived his encounter with the Peacemaker, dispatches major force to attack Checkmate headquarters, where Magella is held. Peacemaker defies orders and confronts the Major. Now for my thoughts. As usual, we'll start with the cover. The cover of this one here, we show the main cover itself shows Major Force and Peacemaker fighting. We get some Checkmate Knights running up behind them. We get our title Checkmate on the top. We get as Peacemaker's firing bullets at Major Force. We see bullets flying up in the air from his gun. Below that it says destroyed. So it's Checkmate, destroyed. It's a very good cover. I like it. It lays out what's going to happen. Again, this is a big fight between Major Force and Peacemaker. Also on the left-hand side, as they've been doing, we've got the number 3, because as I said, this is the third part. Along the edge, it says the Janus Directive, part 3 of 11. So again, I like the trade dress on this. It lets you know which order to read them in. Some stories it gets kind of hard to tell how to read them. So I like the trade dress on here. The cover itself, as I said, it's very good. Very good. I like comics. I like the fact that Major Force hands powering up. He's getting ready to fire an energy blast. Peacemaker's firing his gun. We get some Checkmate Knights. The Checkmate Knights aren't in very good detail because they're in the distance, so I'll let that go. But they're, again, we don't know where they're at this point, but we'll find out in the story. There's destroyed buildings, looks like a car, smoke rising from a fire somewhere. It's just a great cover. I really like this one. Looking at the story itself, we start out with our survivor of the last issue. We get General Eiling. I always have problems with his name. General Eiling yelling at some guy named Colonel Clarkson. He wants answers. Someone blew up Babylon. And that was the guy's name. I couldn't remember. The big black guy that was Miguel's bodyguard, assistant, whatever. They got killed last issue. That was Babylon. He was a major character in the Captain Atom books. It's been a couple of decades since I've read this. I don't remember if he actually did die at this point, and his story, I don't remember if he comes back or not. I do remember up until this point at least, he was a major supporting character in the Captain Atom book. So, this first page is a nice page. We get a close-up of General Eiling's face. His nose has a band-aid on. He's got a patch on his cheek. He's smoking on a cigar. He's holding it, smoking out of his mouth. A great page. Then on the next page, not so much a complaint, but just, what? It doesn't look right. On page 2, there's one panel on the left-hand side. We get the colonel that's being yelled at, and we're looking at him behind. In front of him is Eiling. His face in shadows, his arms in a sling, bandaged up. Next to that, there's 2 panels. The top one shows the outside of the building they're in, the safe house. And then the third panel here is the one I'm going to comment on, complain about, however you want to phrase it. We get a back view of General Eiling's head, and apparently he had some damage done to his head. I'm not sure how extensive, but it looks like part of his hair is shaved, and it looks like there's a giant novelty bandage. Usually for something that large, you would have a gauze with surgical tape or something like that holding it on. This looks like a giant novelty band-aid to me. And like I said, they got part of his head shaved where they operated, or there's a cut. I don't know what's happened there. The band-aid's over that. Plus part of the sticky part is on this bare skull. Plus on his hair. It just doesn't sit right with me. Yeah, it looks like a giant regular Band-Aid, but it's larger than a normal Band-Aid. Let's say it takes up a good section of his head where he's got an injury at. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I've never actually noticed one of those before, but it just looks odd. I would imagine they would have a gauze and surgical tape like it's on his cheek on the first page, but I'm spending a lot of time on this Band-Aid, but it kind of pulls me out of the story, as silly and as corny as this looks. I mean, the rest of it's great artwork in this book. I never complain about Checkmate's artwork for the most part. I mean, occasionally here and there, but I enjoy Checkmate's artwork. But yeah, that Band-Aid, when it's on the screen in front of me, it's a distraction. And then we get a little bit of a flashback where General Eiling was telling Miguel that he needs to be more serious about his security, that he's in danger, and, Miguel was kind of blowing him off. Hey, you know what you're talking about. I'm fine. I've got Babylon. I'm in my house. I'm good. And then we see Peacemaker attacking, shooting Babylon, Eiling jumping to the side. And he talks about how let me see real quick. The bastards delivered the coup de grace. They fired a missile. He says, the blast threw me away from the house, but I saw Miguel loaded aboard the gunship before it took off. Which goes back to another, again in quotes, complaints. Last issue, Peacemaker was talking to the Knight and they were talking, and then Eiling was down the bottom talking like he was responding to what they were saying, or at least what Peacemaker was saying. But here we don't see that. He doesn't, threaten or anything like he did there. And there's nothing on this page to indicate that he overheard what Peacemaker was saying. So I So looking back at that last issue, that last page, it makes me not like it at this point, just because I think it was written kind of clunky. Again, I love the art and the writing team on these books, but I think it was in the Suicide Squad book, so that would have been John Oshner and Kim Yell. I just have slight issues with the way that was done. Nothing major, but it's just a little wonky. And again, Eiling saying he doesn't know who the guy in black was, which we know is a Checkmate Knight, but he knows his accomplice was Peacemaker. And again, we get a little blurb here. This flashback courtesy of Suicide Squad 27, back when the comic companies didn't mind helping a reader out and figure out what to read if they missed part of the story. Now it seems like it's a shame the last decade or two. They don't want to do notes. Then when they do, a lot of times they refer to trade paperbacks instead of the actual issues. That kind of bothers me being a floppy reader, but that's another story entirely. Not going to get into that. So again, we continue on our story. We go to Koning Industries, where Harry's kind of upset that Amanda appears to be working off of faulty information. So again, he kind of covers that they've captured Miguela. That even though Amanda wanted her dead, and Harvey brings that up. He's like, well, if Amanda Waller knew what we was doing, she'd have our heads on a plate, Harry. She gives orders to kill Dr. Miguela. Figuring he was the Janus Directive was the work. Try that again. Figuring that the Janus Directive was the work of either the Atom Project, or Force of July. And Harry's like, since when do you care what Waller wants, Harvey? And he's like, I don't. Just think about my job is all. And then we get Harry Stein saying, yeah, Amanda can stuff it. I'm not ordering any kill missions. We'll keep Miguela here, alive. I want to play as close to the vest as possible. And so we see a little monitor showing Miguela and another one showing Peacemaker, kind of pacing. And we find out, if you're unfamiliar with Peacemaker, he had I think it was a 4-issue miniseries in this time frame. He was a Charlton character that DC bought back when they bought all the other Charlton characters. He's kind of like the Punisher or Vigilante, Wild Dog. He's a lone wolf that kills people, but he's more of a military guy. We find out that he's a little unstable. He goes off on his own, unpredictable manner. And so Harry sends them out on their missions. And after everyone's gone, Harry tells Harvey that, as I mentioned earlier, that he thinks Waller's gone off the deep end, that she's got some massive conspiracy going on, and nothing he can find can prove it. And so he says he's got Gary Washington, which is the Black Knight. I believe he was the guy in the first couple issues. Black Thorn and Valentina Vostok. Keep on calling her Valerie. They're conducting their own professional investigation of the matter, trying to see what they can find out. And Harvey's like, I never liked the lady, but she usually knows what she's doing. But yeah, she's got to be stopped. And so they want to capture Amanda Waller alive to see what she knows. And then we catch up with Valentina Vostok and Black Thorn meeting in Washington, D.C. at a bar, or a pub, called Tom's. Black Thorn's got her usual spiky hair, her normal goggles, but she's more motley dressed after that. And Valentina is wearing, I don't know what the hell this hat is she's wearing. Again, I'm not a fashion guy, it just looks odd. And then we got later that night, we get Belle Rev Prison, Louisiana. And we get the Gary, Valentina, and Black Thorn getting ready to break in. Valentina's got a black face mask on, something covering her face, but leaves her hair out, exposed. And so they make reference here to Black Thorn saying that, she's got a doohickey that override the security system. And Gary's like, what do you mean just about? Blackthorn's like, stop worrying, got me to your HQ, didn't it? And again, another reference to another issue. This is referencing Checkmate number 8. Again, as I said before, I love when they make references to other books. Device isn't working, so Gary blows the door off the hinges. They take out the guards here. I'm assuming these are dart guns. First, I thought maybe she was shooting, but I think it may be actually dart guns. I don't think she's actually killing anybody, which I'd be wondering for a minute. And then we got to the Daily Planet where Lois Lane's talking to a source of hers. Complaint. Yeah, we'll call it a complaint. I don't care much for the way Lois Lane looks. Again, I forget when this takes place exactly in continuity with everything else, but she doesn't quite look like Lois Lane to me. Her hair's off. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But again, Lois Lane being Lois Lane, her source, Eiling, is trying to warn her off. But again, Lois Lane, if you try to warn her off, that's waving a red flag, and she just charges straight ahead. And then we cut to Miguel, and he's talking about how apparently he has a tracking device implanted in his cybernetic body. He's activated it so people can find him. And again, as I'm going through here, I haven't mentioned it much, except for when I don't care for something like the way Lois Lane looks. But in this book, I do love the artwork. I say this every episode, and I'm going to keep saying it. The artists on here, they're using a more realistic, more clean lines, very four-color. I think Rick Hoberg and Alve is a fantastic character. We've seen him for a while. But, Rick Hoberg's doing a fantastic job as penciler. I personally don't see any problem. I think it fits in with the rest of the Checkmate series. And that's always a good thing when they switch artists, as long as the artist they're using, it can go seamless and you don't see a big jarring, wow, this is different. I've seen that before. So I do like the fact that they've got a consistent art style in this book. Now, going back and forth between the two, Suicide Squad and Checkmate, you are getting different art styles. I don't mind them because I read them both, and I like both art styles for what they were. I'd be curious if someone only read one of the books and they bought the other one for the crossover, what they thought about this changes the art style. If anyone out there listening to this falls in that category, if you have any thoughts about the art style, let me know what you guys think about the change to the art style between the two different books. And then here on page 10, as they're breaking in, Black Thorn's like, never thought I'd see the dad be breaking into a prison. And again, they say they have the black blueprints for the prison, so they know where everything's at. And then Gary, Valentina, and Black Thorn break into the room where Murph and this other guy named Dave's at. The security room where they can check the monitors out. Again, great. Then here on page 11, we see Boomerang, Digger Harkness, watching a James Bond movie, and I think he's watching the movie. He's completely like, "Oh, that Connor is a bright, smooth bloke. I'm blaming the shame he chucked it all. Those blighters followed it. Try that again. Those blighters what followed it and done the role proper." And Blackthorn comes in and shoots at Boomerang with a dart to knock him out. Misses him the first time, and he turns, "Who's the wise guy?" And she's like, "You have no taste. Donald's the best." "Straight feet, do your bleeding things." Boomerang takes off. I like the fact that as Blackthorn's trying to take him out, they're having a discussion about who is the best James Bond. I'm sure my buddy, again, I watch a lot of the James Bonds, but I don't know if I have a preference. I'm sure my buddy Jared Albrecht, the art style drawer guy, would have a preference on that. One of my co-hosts over on the G.I. Joe Royal American Headcast. He does a James Bond podcast also. Then we get Bronze Tiger. He's sitting there meditating. He's like, "Wait, something's wrong. We're bringing shit off the TV, but he's not clomping around like he usually does. This bear's investigating." So it looks like, I kind of wasn't sure what happened there, but yeah, it looks like when Blackthorn broke in, I guess she wasn't shooting at him, or maybe she was, but she missed. But it hit the remote and turned the TV off, is what her dart did. I don't know, I don't see her turning the TV off that way, but it's a weird coincidence that she shot at it and missed and accidentally turned the TV off. And as Boomerang tries to escape, he runs into Bronze Tiger, who's coming out to investigate. He's all, "Out of my way, Tiger. There's some crazy shit on my butt. Gotta get my boomerangs." Like, "Slow down, Boomerang. I understand what you're..." And again, Blackthorn comes out and confronts him. Another one. Bronze Tiger, isn't it? And so she tries shooting him. She gets up close to do a little fight, hand-to-hand fight stuff there. Val comes running up to help out, and he just knocks her down. And Captain Boomerang's looking through his boxes, trying to find his uniform, his clothes, his boomerangs. Come on, I knew I shouldn't be cleaned up this bleeding closet. What are those blinking things? And behind him, the Checkmate Knight walks up. Gary's like, lose something, Captain Boomerang? Nah, man, I got it. See? He throws a boomerang, which Gary knocks inside of his baton. And again, Boomerang, they fight a little bit. Boomerang uses boomerangs. Gary's using his knight skills. A little verbal play between them. Like this is these, let me see, Boomerang's like, hope you don't mind me finishing off so quickly. I hate these long drawn out fights. And as Gary kicks it, he's like, I know, I read your file. I heard it's because you were a coward. And Boomerang pulls out one of sonic boomerangs, which knocks Gary off his feet, disorients him. Again, I just love the artwork in here. I think the writing in this story is fantastic. Again, as they're doing a little fighting, Black Thorn gets up close to him and uses one of her trank thorns to knock him out. Gary knocks the boomerang out of the way and runs away from Captain Boomerang. As Gary's running away, Boomerang's like, what's your hurry, mate? I've got another ring here, and you're sure to get a bang out of it. Because again, the corny jokes like that is what makes these comics, I think. So again, a little more fight. Captain Boomerang throws his boomerang. Black Thorn catches it, throws it back, and it explodes in midair. We find that Amanda Waller is hiding out of the cell. She's got a security monitor. She sees She sees the knight on the monitor, and Boomerang goes running away from Gary and Val and Black Thorn. He runs outside. They with the trio running after him, and they're trying to get him to tell them where Amanda Waller's at. Boomerang goes running outside, and the knight trips him with his baton. I like this. He's like, what am I looking at here? They're running outside, and Gary's like, if you don't mind, I'll do the honors. Well, at least my lance will. And trips him up, and Boomerang's like, down, mate. Let's not do something drastic. Seeing how your birds flew in the coop, you see Amanda Waller in a helicopter kind of laughing at them as she's getting away. And Gary just punches Boomerang, knocking him out. It's a great image there as they run away. Then we cut back to Koning Industries in Virginia. They find out, Harry's found out that Waller's escaped. All of a sudden, we get Major Force attacking their building. Major Force, again, is a big bad guy from the Captain Atom book. He's gone against Captain Atom. In fact, from this point here in the future, over the Green Lantern book, he's the one that kills Kyle Rayner's girlfriend and shoves her in the refrigerator, starting the whole woman in refrigerators thing, which I've got problems with. But I'm not going to talk about it here. Maybe I'll talk over Head Speaks at some point. Major Force, he's a gigantic atomic brute, if you will. Interesting character. I like him to an extent. Not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy when Major Force shows up. And then we have Peacemaker. Peacemaker wants to run out and fight. And again, he's got this motto. He's like, nothing must stop my purpose. I love peace so much I'm willing to kill to keep it. And he runs out and away from his handler, Miss Dr. Diablo. And again, he'll make this reference about, loving peace so much he's willing to kill for it again. I think it may be a bit overdone the way it's worded. I don't know. And that's it. That's his background. That's his story. But I think he kind of overuses it, or the writer overuses it when they explain them. I don't know. But again, we get some fights. We get Lois Lane pulling up in a cab, checking out the fights, and we end our issue with Peacemaker and Major Force coming face to face, kind of like on the cover. Different angle, but same story. And I like this. Major Force like, some of the traitor scums have themselves a defender, huh? This is going to be more fun than I thought. At least for the few seconds I think tear you apart. Ha 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 ha. And Peacemaker's like, I'm so glad you find this amusing, fool. I just pray you'll keep laughing when I blast you back to whatever hell you came from. And Peacemaker, he's got an odd helmet. He's got a white metal helmet with looks like a white bar or something going along the top of it. It's a very interesting design. I haven't read a whole lot of Peacemaker. I'm not quite sure if that part that goes around his helmet does anything, or if it's just for design purposes, but it's interesting. And then we get the next issue blurb saying, next issue, the Janus Directive continues next week in Suicide Squad 28, which I'll talk about momentarily. And in 2 weeks, Checkmate 17, Manhunter 14, and Firestorm 66. And those are all upcoming episodes. But again, it was a great storyline. I'm enjoying the Janus Directive as I reread it. Yeah, I enjoyed it the first time. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, the artwork is what it is. It's great artwork. Each book has its own style. And again, there's minor qualms here and there. But overall, I'm enjoying the artwork. I'm enjoying the storyline again. Not much more to say about it than that. I wish I had more to say, but it's just fantastic artwork. Not a whole lot of complaints. Go ahead and hold tight, kids, and we're going to play some promos. We'll be right back with the next issue.
Now we're gonna have a break. Message time we're gonna take.
Hello, Paul. Hello, I am Dr. Herfenstaffner. Come in, please. Take a seat. What can I do for you today?
I can't sleep. I can't focus on anything. The only thing I can think about is like DC events.
DC event, as in the comic books? DC events?
Yes, the comic book events.
Ooh, interesting. Are we talking things like Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah, totally. That one, yeah.
Infinite Crisis?
Yeah, that one too.
Oh, very, very. Invasion, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
The Genesis?
Not so much.
No? Oh. Okay, well, I think it's really good if you talk about the things that are troubling you in your life. So maybe you should do a podcast about this obsession.
What do you call this obsession? What do you think it is?
I think you're a unique case. I've not seen anything like this before in my office. I'm going to suggest that you have what we call DC OCD.
What? DC OCD?
You are obsessive and compulsive about your DC events. I think you should talk it out, get it out of your system via a podcast. I will help you, my friend. We shall do a podcast together about your DC OCD.
Oh, okay.
I won't even charge you for it.
Awesome. I don't think I can claim you on benefits.
Yeah, it's good.
When shall we start?
I'll get back to you on that. I'll check my timetable.
Cool.
It began with the origin of his comic book fandom.
This is the very first comic book I have ever read, and also ignited the spark of my comic book collecting over the course of a 1974 weekend.
Professor Zoom Yukinori led an ongoing expedition through his favorite single-issue comic book stories from the Bronze Age of DC Comics.
Balance of Power,
Have Horse, Will Fly, Solomon Grundy, Wins on a Monday,
Superman's Unbeatable Rival,
Green Lantern, Master Criminal of the 25th Century.
With unique celebrity guest perspectives in an ambitious attempt to set this program apart from other comic book review podcasts.
Call me Terror Man. Solomon Grundy am co-host this time.
I am Lenos, the lexical archive of minutia, expositions, and origins.
Goodbye, me am Bizarro.
I am Libra.
This is Aya from the Green Lantern.
It is I, the Reverse Flash.
Which had ended with the destruction of the universe. Or has it?
Where in thunderation are we?
I regret to say that you are my prisoner.
Without our interspatial time conveyor, we are all essentially trapped here.
Can't summon the willpower necessary for my power ring to pull me free.
For nearly 2 decades, I had carried her ghost within my heart.
Experience the wonder.
Great wings of Mercury!
Of an all-new season
Solomon Grundy fought little pointy-eared man before.
Let us get back to the story, shall we?
Down, down, and approach.
Of the Done in One Wonders podcast Wonder Show. Only on the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Allow me, Entity Terraman. That does it. They ain't messing with no timelines ever again.
Now we go back to the fun. Message time is over and done.
We begin the fourth part of the Janus Directive with Suicide Squad number 28. Cover date was 1989. The on-sale date was April the 4th, 1989. The cover price was $1. This was edited by Robert Greenberger. The title of this issue was Death Game. Written by both Kim Yale and John Ostrander. Penciler was John K. Snyder III. Inker Carl Kessel. Letterer was Todd Klein. Colorist Carl Gafford. And the cover was done by Carl Kessel. And this was reprinted in Suicide Squad, the Janus Directive, trade paperback, which was released in 2016. The synopsis: while Peacemaker and Major Force battle outside of Checkmate headquarters, Amanda Waller sends the Suicide Squad to join the battle. They have orders to kill Dr. Magella, who is in Checkmate custody, but Vixen chooses to ignore these orders. Harry Stein authorizes security to move Magella. When the attacking forces converge on the prisoner, Magella explodes, injuring Count Vertigo and Major Force in the process. Meanwhile, Black Thorn tracks down Wade Eiling, who has been trying to enlist the aid of Captain Atom. The Justice League refuses to get involved, but Nightshade and King Faraday try to change his mind. And the credits and the synopsis both comes from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. As I say every episode I talk about him, Mike's got a great site, very helpful to his podcasters and anyone interested in this information on these comics. But enough about that. Let's move on with this actual issue. We start out with the cover, as I normally do. The cover says Suicide Squad along the top. It has the Ostrander, Yale, Snyder, and Kessel credits along the top, issue 28. The main focus of our issue, or the cover, we show a close-up of Peacemaker looking down the barrel or the scope of his gun. We see it looks like Duchess and Major Force fighting in his crosshairs. He's going to take somebody out. Don't know who yet. We'll find out in just a few minutes. It says the title, Death Game, in the bottom corner of it. And as I've been doing, they have the trade dress, the number 4, and then written sideways along the edge, the Janus Directive, and then it says part 4 of 11. Overall, this is a great cover. I'm enjoying this one. Most of these covers, if I'm not mistaken, I've enjoyed them all. They've been good covers. They tell the story what's going on. No real beefs with them. I mean, this is Carl Kessel. Fantastic job on it. I think we get a close-up Peacemaker's face, holding his gun. As I'll comment, I think I commented last time, his helmet's a little goofy. In the scheme of things, it's got like a knight's helmet with like a metal cross-segmented bar wrapped around it. I don't quite know what's up with that. But again, that's not the artist's fault. He's doing with what he has. But overall, I enjoy the cover. We start our story out. We get a bunch of, looks like ninjas, guys in black suits with rifles and scopes on top of a building. Look at these two people running. I do like the credits. The name of the issue is written on the side of the building, Death Game, and then below that's got the credits. Kim Yale and John Ostrander writers, and so forth and so on. And we get a little blurb here saying, if you haven't read last week's Checkmate number 16, go back and catch up on what you've missed. Back issue Bob. That would be Robert Greenberger, the editor. Again, I say this every time I see these. I love these little notes that tell you where to go back if you missed an issue or if you know what's going on or want to know what's going on. It tells you where you want to go to read those. I really love those. I was saddened when they stopped doing those. And again, I'm going to stop talking about that because I've complained about that before. So we get these two people. We're not quite sure who they are running down this alley. These ninja guys are shooting at them with their guns. They're flanked on both sides. They run down these subway tunnels. And again, this is standard Suicide Squad artwork. John K. Snyder's doing the layouts. Carl Kessel the finishes that I talked about. I think this is, again, it's very the dark and gritty. It's the average Suicide Squad look, which, as I said, for a 4-color superhero book like Superman or Starman, Manhunter, Batman, someone like that. Maybe Manhunter fall into it. Batman, things like that. I don't... actually, Batman can be darker too. Let me go back. Take it back. Step back. Superman, Spider-Man, Starman, things like that. I don't care for the darker and grittier like this. But seeing how Suicide Squad is a covert action supervillain team book, I like it. I think it fits wonderfully what they're doing. Again, this kind of dates it because, again, they find a payphone. You don't see very many of those. People would have a cell phone on them. So I do like it kind of dates the time period. And we see that the woman, there was a man and a woman that was being chased. They call into Sarge Still. You don't get a good look at Sarge Still, but you see his metal hand. I know he's involved in this, so I am assuming it's Sarge Still. They're giving code phrases and code words to get through. And apparently this is Cherry and John. Because the guy on the phone, which I'm assuming is Sarge Still, is like, Cherry, are you there? Or is it maybe Sherry? Sherry, are you there? And the man is shooting at the guy's attacking. He gets overwhelmed. And as she goes down, she yells, John. So I'm assuming this is John. And then they got on the phone, which I'm assuming is Sarge Still's like, Sherry? John? Into the phone, trying to get their attention, but they get knocked out. And like this, on top of page 5, we get the phone just dangling. He's like, are you all right? As we get these ninja guys carrying their limp bodies up some stairs. I do like the scene. There's a couple pages here. A little fight between these two unknown agents and the ninjas. Again, these are the new modern 80s ninjas going to the 90s with, instead of swords, are using guns. But again, it's I like the shadows here on page 4 while they're running. And actually, not they're running, they're standing the ground. Sherry's on the phone to their handler, I'm assuming. John's trying to shoot the guys that are coming at him, or ready to shoot them. We get shadows from all sides reaching out for him. It's just a great images. This close-up of John, and he's shooting his gun. Blam, blam, blam. Bullets flying out of the gun. It's just some great artwork in this book. Love it. And then we move on to Amanda Waller. She's in Bell Rev. Busting Murph's balls about what's been going on. She's like, Murph, you listen to me. I'm going to can your hide if I don't get an explanation why Checkmate Assassination Team waltz into Bell Rev to kill yours truly. And Murph's like, hey, Bell Rev security is designed to keep people from getting out, not getting in. Capiche? Standing orders formulated when the facility was masquerading as a federal prison. And Amanda's like, who's standing orders? Who's standing orders? And he's just like, yours. Again, I love Amanda Waller standing up to everybody. But Murph's been with her for a while. In this room, we got, like I say, Amanda Waller, we got Murph, we got John Economos, the warden, and Flo. And again, Murph's been around Amanda enough that he's not going to bow down gently and take any guff from her. He's going to tell her like it is. And so she orders Duchess, Shade, and Count Virgo to get down here for her mission, and Vixen. And she lets us know that Ben is still incapacitated with Black Thorn's darts. And then we have a little subplot, if you will. John Economos is asking Flo, he's like, are you going to play Florence Nightingale if Ben White recovers? Why waste the time? Last time I did it had no effect. Economos is like, come on, Flo, give it a shot. I speak from experience. It worked with my 4th wife. And Flo's like, you told me that story about your 2nd wife. It was the same woman. I married her twice. So I like the dialogue here. And I'll get into that here in the letter column about the dialogue and how the writing broke down. But I just love... Man, you told me that story about your 2nd wife. It was the same woman. I got married her twice. It's just a great line. I love it. And Murph's just sitting there smoking his cigarette, listening to all those BS. Like, what the hell? And then we get Amanda telling Murph she wants the Medusa mask. And she wants to get ready for her departure. And we get a close-up of Amanda's face. And I've said it before, and I say it again. I love Amanda. She's a great character. I love the way she's designed here. She's an older, heavy-set, shorter black woman that's not going to take any guff off anyone. She's going to tell them like it is and demand what she wants. And so she's like, will give me the mask. Tell Yeager get their transport ready for my immediate departure. And he's like, are you crazy? There's no guaranteeing your safety if you walk out of Bell Rev. And she's like, this isn't a round table debate, Murph. Those are orders, and move out. And Amanda maybe should have mouthed back when he said, we can't guarantee your safety. We can't really guarantee the safety here either. That's what I would have said, but... And then she turns to Economos and Flo, have you assembled the team yet? No. You waiting for some special occasion, Economos? Hop to it then. And so they're going to try to... She tells us here that, the Checkmate took Miguel alive. The squad's going to try to rectify that and take out anyone else who gets in the way of the mission. And again, here at the bottom of page 7. On page 7, we have 2 close-ups of Amanda. One at the top where she's telling Murph to get the mask and have Yeager get the transport ready. And then here at the bottom of page 7, we get a close-up of her face, and her eyes are in shadow. I think they're closed. And she's all serious. She's like, hop to it. Checkmate took Miguel alive. The squad's going to rectify that and take out anyone else who gets in the way of the mission. Very serious. And then we're to a different place. We get Koning Industries 2 hours later. We get Lois Lane walking to the building, good Lord. And she sees... So I don't know timeline-wise. I think that what we saw earlier, this part of up to the first 7 pages of this story, took place while the last part of Checkmate was going on earlier. Because here we're pretty much starting up where we left off on the Checkmate series. Or the Checkmate issue just a little bit ago. We get Peacemaker flying in on his jets, ready to blast Major Force. He shoots them. More Force goes down, gets up. Somebody sent me a playmate. Goody, goody. As he's powering up and starts shooting energy bursts at Peacemaker. And again, Peacemaker's like, I love peace. If I got a key to get Peace Sucker, I will. Which is kind of the same thing that he said last issue. So that's kind of his tagline. And I think I made mention about, not last issue, the Checkmate issue earlier tonight. Getting confused on when I talked about these. And I think I may have mentioned it then. Again, it's been a little bit. Again, this is the second issue we've seen him in. The second issue's had that same line or similar line. I hope they don't keep doing that. Again, I know a different writer than handled the Checkmate issue, so maybe they want to get that line in there. I know Some Buddies was working on a comic years ago, and in the villain's bio there was a line about where he came from, and apparently all 3 of us liked that line because we all used it in our first, we took turns writing. One of us wrote 1 issue, one of us wrote the 2nd issue, one of us wrote the 3rd issue, so we had like a plot outline of what was going on. And all 3 of us ended up using that same line from the character bio in the book. And one of the main guys that was working on the book, when it started, he's like, okay, we've always that line, let's not do it again. So I think it's kind of the same thing here, that, it's in the character bio, and so they wanted to make sure they got it in here. And again, Ostrander and Yale are some great writers, so I don't think they're going to abuse that. It just, the second time we see him, he says the same things, pretty much. So it's kind of like, eh. And then we cut to Harry and Harvey and Dabo, the gal from Project Peacemaker, and they're watching all this going on the screens, and they're like, Checkmate's cover's blown. Thanks to your trigger-happy patient. Bet the Washington Post photographer out there right now getting front-page pictures of Force and Peacemaker. And she's like, part of psychosis, only he can make a difference. Would you try to stop him in that frame of mind? And Harvey tells Val that it's imperative she reaches Eiling. Both Checkmate and Adam Project have been set up. And she's like, Harry, since Checkmate tried to kill the general, he's not giving me a very disposed to talking. He's all, convince him by whatever means possible. And don't give any other options. Do it. She's like, nothing like an interesting challenge, Harry. All right. And so Harvey's watching the screens, and he's like, I think we got trouble. And Harry's like, of course we got trouble. Understatement of the century, Harvey. We got more troubles than you know. Look who just showed. And then we see on the screens, we showed Duchess, Vixen, Shade, and Count Vertical showing up to fights. And he's like, I know how Earl Flynn felt, and they died with their boots on. They get here on page 11. I love this scene of our squad mates rushing into battle. Lashina, a.k.a. Duchess, has a big gun, smile on her face, ready to do battle in her standard camo gear. Virgo's behind them. Shade and Vixen comes running up. It's just a great panel. Not quite poster-worthy. I don't know. It's pretty close, though. It's very nice. Very nice. It's like, how big is this? It's a full page, and then the Harvey and Harry things insert on top of it. So, It's a very nice page, though. And then we get Vixen giving out orders, telling people who to take on, and this Count Vertigo goes up to fight Peacemaker, and Peacemaker's like, friend or foe? Count Vertigo's like, oh, foe. Definitely foe. And uses his Vertigo powers to make Peacemaker fall to the ground. And then Shade jumps in his vest, morphing into a general-looking guy. And Peacemaker's like, oh, father, no! Shade, I love... Here, it's on page 12. I love the use when Shade uses Metavest. It relies on people's fears. And I just love the way that the vest takes on these different images and can pit people. It's a great... I love the suit. It's fantastic. And then we get Major Force standing off against Duchess. He's like, hello, baby. Want to mix it up? Fine by me. I don't mind hitting broads. Give me your best shot. And she unloads into him, and he runs up and punches her, kicks her, knocks her down. Guess you're falling for me, huh, girlie? Kind of knocks her around a little bit, and she just gets up, does that thing where she wipes the blood off her mouth. And, I finally found some who won't break the first time I hit him. Okay, Worm, let's match fists. Thus you get inside and do what we came for. This one is meat, my meat. And she started beating on page 14. I love the when she punches Major Force in the face. He just kind of turned to a crack in his face, like, what happened? I just love this image. It's a great panel. And again, as we talked about last episode, I think it was, we finally added that this is actually Lashina. We've kind of hinted around that for a while now, but we've actually kind of confirmed that this is Lashina from the Female Fury. So she grew up on Darkseid, on Apocalypse, under the tutelage of Granny Goodness, which is a torture school. So she's tough, strong, she's used to violence. So for her to be able to, and here on with Earthling, she has to kind of hold back a little bit. I think that's why she picked up the guns and went by Duchess and was a gun freak, because if she went full force with her power, she could hurt too many people and might give her away too soon. So I like the fact that, I can unleash on you, buddy. It's just a great scene. And so Harvey and Harry's watching this, and they're in. Time to get out. Tell Screw to grab Miguela. Let's break for the safe house. And again, here on bottom page 14, they get inside the building, and Vixen's like, orders were to kill Miguela. If once Miguela dead, she can pull the trigger. As far as I'm concerned, we grab him and take him back. Those are my orders. So again, as I've talked about previously and elsewhere, that Waller is not a villain, in my opinion. She's just a hard ass that does what she needs to do to get the job done. Miguel is not some innocent kid off the street she's trying to kill, as some people it's working for her. Suicide Squad movie. But anyways, Miguel is, a top government guy. She thinks she thinks that he may be trying to kill her, so she's willing to pull off the kid gloves and take him out if need be. And maybe I like Amanda so much I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but that's my thoughts on it. But let me know what you guys think about Amanda Waller. Do you think she's a villain? Do you think she's a misunderstood anti-hero? I'm not quite sure what to classify her as, but let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know, am I alone on this? And then moving on with the story, we get, Peacemaker. He's on the ground. He's still hallucinating about his father. He's talking to his father, who, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I read the Peacemaker miniseries. He has images of his father already, so Shade kind of messed him up big time there. And then he sits up and he sees both Duchess and Major Force fighting. We can't get a good glimpse of just their shadow, but we know that's the two of them fighting. And he's sitting there talking to his dad. He's like, I see them both. I know they're both our enemies. I was going to do something about it. No, not with my teeth. Let me reach the gun. I'll show you. So again, he's very much crazy as a house rat. And I like here on page 15 and 16, the bottom page 15, we get Peacemaker reaching for his gun. He's talking to his dad that's not there, telling him that he's going to, he'll show them. And then we get some guards taking Miguela away. Miguela telling him, you won't let me go, or there'll be more bloodshed because they're going to find me again. About this time, Count Vertigo approaches and knocks out the guards. And he's all, by all means, gentlemen, release the scientist. I will end the bloodshed by ending his. You tremble so, scientist. Are you afraid of the death, or do you? And then we cut over to Peacemaker talking to his father, still while he's aiming his gun. What does it matter which one dies first? They are both my enemy. And then we just get a large kaboom, knocking Peacemaker, Duchess, and Major Force around, knocking them down. And they said, Major Force is all, oh, what was in that last punch, baby? She's like, that wasn't me. This is. And just cold cocks. And I like that look here on the bottom of page 16. The look of confusion and just dazement on Major Force's face. And then here on page 17, we find out what happened, that Miguel blew himself up. Vertigo's still alive, but he's hurt pretty bad, they say. And he's in there battling. He's like, blew up. He just blew up. And Duchess is like, nice explosion. What did you use? And Chase says that Miguel blew up. He came around the corner just as it happened and caught Vertigo in the Vesp force field, which is what kept Vertigo alive. Otherwise, he'd be dead too. He would live up to the Suicide Squad name. And Vixen says, well, that wasn't throw Miguel. We bring it back to Bel Rev, let Amanda know. And about this time, Lois Lane comes nosing in. What was that? Lois Lane, Daily Planet. What was the Suicide Squad and Major Force doing attacking a private industry here in Virginia? Who is Miguel and what caused the explosion? Just what's going on here? And Vixen's like, no comment. Let's go, people. And Lois Lane herself, yeah, run, hide, stone all you want. Whatever's going on here is big. And I'm going to find out just what it is. And I think Lois looks better here than she did last issue over in Checkmate. There she looks a little off. Here she looks a little more perform, I think. And then we get, as I talked about in the synopsis, we get Eiling yelling at Captain Atom, telling him that, he needs to come help him out. And Adam's like, you already got Major Force dealing with it, You mean a living hell, and you have me help you cover your butt? Kiss my butt, basically. And Eiling, if you haven't read the Captain Atom series, it's a shame. It's a good series. You should pick it up and read that. And also check out Jay Jones' Silver and Gold podcast where he talks about it. But Eiling, if I remember right, I haven't read the series in years myself, but Eiling was always giving, as Captain Atom here says, giving him grief, giving him a hard time, making his life hell. So, and he's doing it here so much. He's like, I always knew you were a petty, no good son of a click, and a traitor, and a coward, and a boil in the backside of America. He's very over the top, very dramatic. Yeah, I like him. He's an interesting character. And then we get Black Thorn telling him, showing up with a gun, saying, yeah, you don't have an embolism, better calm down. And they get a little talk here, and Black Thorn tells him, you're going to pick up the phone, call the number I gave you, talk to the people who answer, or I'll spray your brains over the council. And he's like, you're not going to kill me, you need me, or you wouldn't be here. I like here on the bottom of page 19, Blackthorn's response. We need the head of Atom. We need the head of the Atom Project. Currently, that is you. Then again, perhaps your successor would be more reasonable. They could hardly be less so. What's the number? Just he starts all, you're not going to kill me. You need me. She said, no, we need the head at the Atom Project. Currently, it's you. It could be somebody else, and they could be a little more reasonable. So, And then we cut over to on page 20, we cut over to Nathaniel Atom, a.k.a. Captain Atom. He's in a civilian identity, and all of a sudden turning into Captain America, and there he sees Nightshade. I think I may have talked about in earlier episodes, and I know we've talked about it over on the Ryan Daly Secret Origins podcast when we did the Secret Origins of the Nightshade. Her and Captain Atom have a history. They have a history somewhat in the DC universe. They had a history over in the Charlton universe, which kind of imported over to here. So, and they bring in King Faraday, who again, I think we brought him up over in the Secret Origins Annual. Again, check that out. I forget which episode that was, but yeah, check for Secret Origins podcast. The show itself's over. He's reached the end of his run, but I'm sure it's still out there on your podcasters. Look for Secret Origins. It was a great show. Check out the whole thing. But yeah, let me say, Suicide Squad was 14, so this was around episode 27, 28, I believe it was. I don't have it right in front of me. But go check out Secret Origins. We'll talk more about King Faraday, Nightshade, and Captain Adam's past. And so Nightshade tells, Captain Adam that it's about the Janus Directive, all the metahuman intelligence agencies are tangled up in this. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm finished with all that, Eve. Because again, Captain Adam, he's got a secret background, or he had a secret background. I believe this was right after he told his Justice League friends about it. And he's dealing with the fallout from that. So he's kind of tired of all the secrets and the interagency stuff. So he's kind of washed his hands. But Nightshade's like, I'd finish with it too. But, King told me some stuff that changed my mind. And I think if you'll listen, you'll change your mind too. And then we come back to the couple from the beginning of the book. John and I think it was Sherry. And they're in front of Cobra. And apparently they're about ready to compromise his mission. So we find out here who the big bad guy is behind the Janus Directive. Cobra, this is Cobra the K, not Cobra Commander. He's got the orange bodysuit, orange mask, and a green cloak wrapped around him. He's got half-naked girls floating around him. And it tells us the Janus Directive continues next week in Manhunter number 14, and Checkmate 17, and Firestorm 86. And then in 2 weeks, Checkmate, Peacemaker, Major Force, and Black Thorn to launch an attack on Bell Rev and Suicide Squad 20. And I'll be covering those over the next couple of months. Definitely stay tuned for that. But that's it for again, it was a great story. It's a great story. I enjoyed it. They say artwork was par for course. So I wanted to mention here from the letters page, someone wrote in about, and I kind of mentioned at the beginning about John and Kim and how they do the book. Someone wrote in kind of mentioning that, and their answer is that John and Kim thoroughly discuss the issue's plot and page-by-page breakdown. From there, John writes down the pacing, and then the two take turns polishing one another's draft. And it was Kim, according to this, who came up with the new visual for Vixen's powers. So that's how John and Kim wrote the book, which I thought was an interesting little tidbit. But that's going to do it for this time. Like I said, there's not much more to say. I've enjoyed the artwork. I enjoyed the story. The Janus Directive is starting out pretty good. It's as good as I remember. Definitely check us out next month when we cover some more issues of this. I believe next month, if my notes are correct, we are going to be covering Checkmate 17 and Manhunter number 14. So be here to join us for that. While you're at it, check out my other shows on the network. I've also got my G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. The next episode of that is episode 24, it looks like. You're looking at my notes here. I'm going to be covering issue 24 and episode 11 of the cartoon. Also, the week after that is Head Speaks, where I'm in the middle of my Armageddon 2001 run. According to my notes here, again, I've got a notepad, an Excel spreadsheet with all these information down for me. I'll be covering the next issue after you hear this, or the next episode after you hear this. Should be the new Titans Annual number 7. Should have just released Hawk World Annual 2. And also in that episode is a feature of Behind the Podcast with the wonderful and delightful Zumi Kanori. Check that out. And then again, like I said, join us here next month when we get to Task Force X 40, Checkmate 17, and Manhunter number 14. So I was looking at my notes here. So yeah, join us here on the Headcast Network for all of our shows. If you enjoy the show, go and leave us a message on either, well, if you don't, rate me over on either Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from. Send me a message. You can email me at taskforcex@headspeaks.com, or you can go to the blog, the website, taskforcex.headspeaks.com, or the Facebook page of Task Force X. Leave me a message. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about these issues, this series, my coverage of it. Let me know what you think. But we're coming up about an hour, which is a pretty good run for me, so we're going to go and call it a night. Until next time, squad mates, dismissed.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of Task Force X. I can also be found rambling on my main headcast of Head Speaks, where I rant and rave about movies, comics, geek stuff, and whatever is bugging me.
Mate, you just out-crazied the Joker.
Well, I tried, Boomer, but anyways, my home on the internet is at headspeaks.com. HEADSPEAKS.com. Links to my blog, which contain follow-up information to this and every headcast, can be found there. Both Task Force X and Headspeaks are on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at headspeaks.com under Headcasts. Please feel free to email me any questions, comments, or concerns to taskforcex@headspeaks.com. And if you want to record a message, you can send it to me at taskforcex@headspeaks.com, and I'll play it on the air. I'm also on Facebook at Task Force X, and also on Google+, you can look for Task Force X under People and Pages. All titles and characters discussed are owned and copyrighted by DC Comics. I claim no ownership to the Suicide Squad, Checkmate, or Task Force X. I'm just a big fan wanting to spread the Task Force X love with everyone else. DC Comics can be found on the web at dccomics.com. Be sure to visit your local comic shop and look for Suicide Squad and Checkmate Comics. And while you're there, see what else they have that may interest you.
Mother...
Well, make sure you join us here next time for another fun-filled headcast from your friendly neighborhood Brotherhead. In the meantime, I'll see you in the funny pages.